Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Taped podcast, the most industrial podcast in the world. I am your host, Mickey T.
I'm
as
nostalgia.
Always with me.
I thought you left the gap
nostalgia.
there.
Nah.
I am nostalgia. Mm-hmm.
And we're not alone today, as we've got two more guests. As per usual, we always have a guest. We have Pipe.
Hello, it's me. Trent Reznor's brown, sticky, disgusting fist.
And Platts.
Hello, I am the real frontman of Nine Inch Nails, Adam Levine.
Yes.
And of course, they are here today for a 9 Inch Nails worst to best. And this is going to be this is going to be pretty exciting. We got 15 projects to go through, some albums, EPs, and I think we should just stop wasting our time, get right into it.
Yeah.
For my number 15 pick, what I consider 9 Inch Nails' worst project is Hesitation Marks.
I also picked exclamation marks.
No!
I chose Ghosts 1 through 4.
Okay. I picked Ghosts Locusts.
Alright. So yeah, Hesitation Marks. I think this release is unique in 9 Inch Nails' catalogue, but ultimately to me it's just Like the electro industrial production is fine for the most part. I think it sounds good. But like none of these songs here have much memorable to write home about to me. Like I just don't really have much to take away from a lot of these tracks. A lot of them just like breeze past me with just like it's over, really? That's it? Like I just have nothing. And plus I don't know. It's just forgettable to me. That's all I really have to say.
Yeah, this one to me is just so goddamn boring. Instrumentally, it's just so one note, monotonous. I don't really have anything to hold on here instrumentally. Like, a lot of the instrumentals to me would have sounded dated back in the early 2000s, let alone 2013. Especially the percussion, which when I further inspect it, like on a lot of the tracks, sounds almost exactly the same, except the tempo is switched and there's a slight variation. The synths never really do anything exciting for me. Trent Reznor's performance, like the instrumentation, completely lacks any intensity and immediacy that was found on some of my favorite 9 Inch Nails records. And yeah, the whole album just to me kind of meanders and delves into just boringness that it's just hard to sit through. It's a slog in my opinion. It sounds like fucking 9 Inch Nails on anesthesia to me.
Alright.
My poor child.
Poor Pipe.
Poor Pipe. But yeah, Ghosts 1 through 4. This I find the weakest, but it also holds like an odd legacy in the music world because it has like a bunch of sampling credit, specifically on Old Town Road,
Mm-hmm.
and
Of course.
and I think it shows like early signs of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's chemistry together, and I think a few of these I recall on in like a couple of soundtracks they did. Like one was I remember from The Social Network. But overall, it just feels like bloated. It's kind of a mixed bag of these beautiful ambient tracks and these rather one note like instrumental industrial passages that don't really add up to like a fully fleshed out idea. And yeah, I like it. It's just kind of on the weak side for me.
Fair enough.
Fair. Now, Locusts for me, Locusts and I think Together are a part of a like 2020 like little like 2-piece thing that they released this year in 2020, where it was 2 ambient albums that were released together, and for me, this is not only the weakest out of the 2, it's also one of the weakest in Nine Inch Nails' entire discography, and I believe it's probably the only release that I find genuinely bad, because it goes on forever. Like, it is relentless with how long it takes, and it draws out every passage and every note and every idea it has, to the point where it's just like a meandering mess. It's annoying, self-indulgent. It feels like scraps of their soundtrack music, but done very poorly, done in a way that doesn't excite me or interest me at all. It just feels monotonous and cliche, and it's just a boring sit through.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on Locusts. Fuck Locusts, only homies hate Locusts.
Alright, my favourite songs off of Hesitation Marks are Find My Way and Satellite. My least favourite tracks are Copy of a and Everything.
My favorite tracks on Hesitation Marks were... I just skipped through my notes, I'm sorry, I apologize. My favorite tracks were All Time Low, Running, and Various Methods of Escape. My least favorite was Disappointed and Satellite. My voice cracked heavy there.
Yeah, I didn't prepare favorites or least favorites because I didn't really care enough. But if I had
that's
to
fair, honestly.
If I had to rank them, it would be from worst to best. It would have to be Ghost 2, Ghost 3, Ghost 4, and Ghost 1 as the top.
Damn.
Yeah, I didn't really rank the Ghost favorites or least favorites, to be honest.
Me neither.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, me neither. My favorite tracks for Locusts are When It Happens, Don't Mind Me, Just Breathe, and So Tired, and my least favorite is Turn This Off Please, which I want to.
Alright, moving on. Number 14, I chose Ghosts 1, 2, 4.
Number 14, I chose The Slip.
At number 14, I chose Ghost 5 Together.
For my next pick, I'm picking Ghosts 1 through 4.
Alright. So yeah, Ghosts 1 to 4, it's alright, I guess. I don't hate it. I don't think it's bad. I just think it's okay. It's ambient Nine Inch Nails as you'd like it, but to be fair, it's a slog to get through if you're gonna listen to them all in one go. So I'd say it would be better to just listen to them in the different sections that it's probably intended to be listened to. Most of these tracks have very few traits that make them stand out amongst one another, as most of them have a pretty predictable and derivative sound. Plus, most of these songs aren't all that interesting, and they just get bland after a while. And honestly, just listening through it as a whole just left me kind of just fucking zombified, because I was just so bored listening to it. There's a couple of good tracks, but those moments are few and far in between, in my opinion. And that's all I really have to say.
What album did I pick? Oh, The Slip. Yeah, this one just doesn't feel like anything unique or new for the band. It maybe sounds like a slightly less interesting version of Year Zero. And massive emphasis on slightly, because I don't know, it's boring, unmemorable. I can't think of many characteristics to this album that are unique or significant when it comes to the bigger picture of the Nine Inch Nails discography. It's just kind of one undercooked track after another. It does kind of start off quite strong. Most of my favorite tracks are in the first half of this, but then it just goes down this just boring route, and every track after fifth track is just completely unmemorable to me. It does kind of pick me up for the last track, which I think is great, but there's just a big gap from fifth track onwards that's just boring track after another after another after another. That really brings this album down.
You're hurting me, Nostalgia. You're truly hurting
Sorry.
me.
It's about to get worse.
Oh shit, stop foreshadowing, for fuck's sake.
Alright.
The slip more like the stand. Anyway.
Shut up.
So Ghost 5. It like I don't have much to say about it. Like, I appreciate how like pretty it is. I appreciate that he kind of released it as like something to like soothe people during quarantine. But I honestly just think it shares kind of the same problems with the first 4 installments. It just feels derivative. It feels overlong. There's not much memorable to pick out from it, and yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My favorite tracks from Ghosts 1 to 4 are 7 Ghosts 1,
Wait,
8 Ghosts 1.
You're forgetting Pipe. Pipe.
I voted yeah. I forgot. Fuck's sake.
No,
Sorry.
It's fine.
irony.
I'll take my leave.
No,
I know when
genuinely.
I'm not wanted.
No pipe. I'm genuinely sorry. I completely forgot. I'm a bit tipsy.
Wait, what? You're tipsy?
Maybe.
Bro, you should have told me. I would have gotten sloshed. I would have gotten absolutely hammered.
Yeah, what?
Isn't it morning for you?
Yes? And?
By the way, this is a very intercontinental episode. I think
Yeah, of
the
course.
time zone
So
difference
New
is like,
Zealand.
I don't know about you, but for me and Mick, it's like 10:30 right now PM. It's evening.
like I had to set my alarm for this. It's 9:26 a.m.
It's
I'm
5.
dying.
It's about 5:30 p.m. for me.
Oh, okay. Apologies for that. Go ahead, Pipe. Sorry, homie.
It's fine. So Ghost 1 through 4, I think, is the most wacky out of the Ghost series. Mostly because, like, it's clearly just Trent and Atticus going into a studio and saying, you know what, we're just gonna make a bunch of tracks. We don't care about cohesion. We don't care about how the end product's gonna sound. We just want to make a bunch of songs and we're gonna just put them out there. And honestly, I respect it. I respect it more than I actually like listening to it, because it's like an hour and 50 minutes. It's 36 tracks split over 4 like segments. Like, it goes from beautiful ambient passages to really distorted heavy jams to like meandering, boring, soundtracky kind of stuff. It's like, it's all over the place. It's a mess, but a part of me does really enjoy the frantic kind of weird nature to it, and I don't know, it just kind of, it's not my favorite out of the Ghosts album like series, but I do enjoy it more than others, I feel. But yeah, it's not the one of their best.
Fair enough. Alright, now actually moving on to our best tracks. My favourites from Ghosts 1 to 4 are 7 Ghosts 1, 8 Ghosts 1, 19 Ghosts 2, 20 Ghosts 2, and 34 Ghosts 4.
Did you do least favorite?
I don't have any least favourites because I don't remember them.
Fair. My favorites on the slip were 1 Million, Letting You, Discipline, Demon Speed. My least favorite was Lights in the Sky.
Okay. It's fine.
My favorites from Ghost 5 together are Still Right Here and Letting Go While Holding On, while my least favorites are Together, Apart, and Your Touch.
Alright.
Okay.
Number
My
six.
favorite.
Oh, sorry.
God damn it! No, it's fine. No one wants to hear me talk about Ghost 1 through 4, apparently.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I'm kidding. I'm jeffing you, don't worry.
I'm gonna go to rehab, I promise.
What? What does that have to do with anything?
Alcoholism.
True. So my favorite tracks, 4, 8, 12, 20, and 31, and my least favorite is 15. God
your phone
knows
number?
what the fuck that means, but sure.
Charlize, piss off, please.
Uh-oh. Woman, leave! Sorry.
There won't be any of that audio on the actual call, so someone just joined the call in case anyone listening's confused.
Okay.
Charlie's so sweetie pants is fine.
Alright, moving on to our number 13 picks. I chose The Slip.
I chose Year Zero.
I chose.
Fine, continue.
I chose Ghost 6 Locusts.
I chose Ghosts Together. Nostalgia is hurting me.
Sorry.
Alright, okay. The Slip. The Slip is an album that definitely saw Trent go in a more alternative direction rather than just like a fully committed industrial tinge sound like some of his previous records, and I respect this approach. I think this album is good on its own. Every track is good and the production is great, but I feel like there were moments that were just like lacking in just anything that kept me interested, and there was very few moments on here that made me go wow or had me loving it. Like the lack of memorability is just kind of just annoying to say the least, and they all just kind of blend together and become like alternative ambient vomit. Like with that being said, though, there's a decent amount of great tracks and all of them are good, but like it could have been better is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, for Year Zero, I think everything other than the political themes when it comes to songwriting just didn't intrigue me or surprise me anyway. The whole album feels kind of by the numbers when it comes to the instrumentals. I didn't care for a lot of Trent's vocal deliveries on here, especially on Capital G. I'll leave it till worst tracks. Songwriting, as I said, I think is the strong point when it comes to Year Zero. I think that it's very focused. The political themes explored here are ahead of the time, honestly, in many ways, and just really well put together through and through. But everything else here is an absolute slog. Again, I've used that word for the previous album, but nothing here gets me riled up. Nothing here gets me excited. It just feels like meh. Don't have too much more to say.
Okay.
I'm done.
So Locusts, I do kind of prefer this over Together, just because of like how much more diverse it is, and how much darker and jazzier the whole aesthetic is. But at the same time, it just feels a lot more bloated than any other of the Ghost series so far. And it does kind of bring it down quite a bit. Like, I still like some of it. It's just that just nothing I'd really come back to, just like the other Ghost series.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair.
So Together for me, like, it's very clear that that Nine Inch Nails wanted to always make like a ambient album. Like they've always toyed with the idea. They love putting ambient interludes and weird sound effecty tracks like throughout all their discography. So to me, this was finally the time that Nine Inch Nails sat down and finally said, you know what, we're gonna release a pure ambient album. And I think that it genuinely is beautiful. It's really pretty. It's like stunningly pretty at times. It's very wholesome. It sounds very much like what Brian Eno was doing with Bowie, kind of that kind of stuff. It's very like dense and interesting to me, especially with the more like longer stretched out parts where the like methodical kind of meditative side to these songs kind of come out, and they kind of like flow, have this ebb and flow to them that's really beautiful. And I think that like while I'm not like as keen on this album as I am with some of more straightforward Nine Inch Nails releases, I still think it's a really great ambient album, and honestly, it's one of the best ambient albums I've heard in 2020. So, yeah.
Honestly, when you were bringing up Bowie, I immediately thought, like, Trent does take a lot of influence from Bowie. I've noticed
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
his
Yeah,
discography.
he even collaborated with Bowie, I think,
Oh shit, I didn't even know that.
on one of his albums.
For 2, I believe. He helped co-write "I'm Afraid of Americans," and they did a giant tour together. It was really cool.
He was also in the music video for "I'm Afraid of Americans." I think it was.
Yeah, and he's
shit.
stalking Bowie in that video. It's
Yeah,
very
he's, like,
entertaining to watch. I
stalking-
highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely watching it after this. Anyways, moving on. My
It's
favorite
funny.
tracks from The Slip are "Letting You," "Discipline," "A Million," and "Lights in the Sky." My least favorite track is "Corona Radiation" because fuck Corona.
Fuck Corona,
yeah.
true.
Fuck Corona.
Piss
Fuck
off! I
Corona,
want to
my
go out on a
homies
session
hate
with my friends
Corona.
again. You fucking bastard.
Facts. Right.
My favorite tracks on Year Zero were the beginning and the end, In This Twilight, and The Great Destroyer. My least favorites were The Good Soldier, Capital G, and Meet Your Master.
My favorites from Ghost 6 are Around Every Quarter and Run Right Like Hell. On Like Hell. And my least favorite tracks are Right Behind You, Temp Fix, and So Tired.
My favorite tracks for Together are Together, Apart, Still Right Here, and my least favorite is Out in the Open.
All right. Moving on to our number 12 picks. I chose Ghosts 5 Together.
I chose The Fragile.
I chose
What?
Hesitation.
Yeah! What the fuck is what? Sorry. I mean, you are entitled to your own opinion.
Very much.
You know what? It's fine. You know, you put the Fragile behind every Ghost album.
Yep.
Why? Okay, it's fine. It's fine. We're cool. No, we're cool. I'm chill. You're chill.
No,
Everyone's chill.
no, I'm actually
We're having
offended.
a
I'm
good
actually
time.
fucking offended. Holy fucking
Alright,
shit.
get on with the show.
We're having a good time. We're having a good time. It's a fun podcast with friends. Yeah, I love your nostalgia. Oh, we should meet up sometime. Oh, fuck me. Ah!
This is the reaction I was honestly hoping for.
All right, let's continue on.
Yeah.
My favorite is no, but my 12 is Hesitation Marks.
Fucking hell. My 12th pick is Still. We're doing Still, right? We're doing Still?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing Still. My 12th favorite is Still.
Okay. Okay, I chose Ghost 5, one of the 2 instrumental Ghost projects that dropped in 2020, and the first one after 12 years, and honestly, I like this one quite a bit. I like a lot of the ambient soundscapes that Trent and co created, and it honestly relaxed me so much. It felt cathartic in a way, and the soundscapes are just fucking beautiful, in all honesty. But of course, it doesn't do much to stand out or excite. But honestly, I just enjoy this more as a vibe, if anything. Like, I was playing Minecraft the other day with this, and it just works. And it just fit the mood so perfectly. And honestly, it's just quite alluring. Yeah, it is a bit long, and there is a couple of tracks that just don't do much for me. But all in all, I like Ghost 5. I think it's good. I like it.
Alright.
Okay, defend yourself, motherfucker.
The Fragile is fucking boring.
How dare you?
I
How
listened to
fucking
this.
dare you?
I listened to it 3 times in preparation. First time, it was a fucking slog to sit through every single time. And I was just like, first time after listening to it, I was just like, oh, maybe I'm just tired. I'll listen to it again tomorrow. I must be missing the whole point of why this is so acclaimed. I listened to it the next day, same exact feelings. So then I listened to it this morning just to make sure I'm not doing a big fuck up. But no, I genuinely don't connect with anything on this album. None of the ideas interest me in any way. They seem either undercooked or overcooked. Trent's delivery on some tracks just seems completely catatonic and lifeless, especially compared to the Downward Spiral. And I was just expecting kind of more of the same, what I've heard on the Downward Spiral, but this was just, I don't know, it seldom caught my attention. I think it drags on for far too long. A vast majority of the tracks here I just don't care for at all. It has a lot of
Alright,
sounds
buddy.
and
Alright, buddy.
tech-
Alright, buddy. No.
Wow.
Tisk,
No.
tisk.
No.
Fucking on the edge
No.
of my fucking
Alright,
will
go.
right now. No.
Uh-oh.
I thought you were going to say something.
I'm not gonna say anything. It's just no. Fuck you. No.
No.
I was going to get to the
Nostalgia
positive.
being wrong?
Dude, I haven't
No.
been this mad since you put Kids See
No.
Ghosts at like fucking 11.
All right.
Just get to your
Right.
positives.
Anyway,
Shit.
I do like a lot of the tracks here. With the amount of tracks on here, there are definitely some highlights, but it's just too long. There's too many tracks that I don't care for at all. And yeah, just 4 out of 10. A light 4.
Oh, fuck off. Oh, fuck off.
God damn it.
My entire, like, my Nine Inch Nails 14-year-old loving Stan brain is just going, you need to murder this man. This man must die.
I've forgiven you on some occasions, but this I will not fucking forgive you for.
No.
Under any fucking circumstances. Jesus Christ,
Nostalgia's
man.
being kicked off the podcast for his opinions. Ugh.
I can't kick this man off. I can't kick this man off.
How fucking...
Legend.
It's not good.
How fucking dare you have me? Just stop!
No. Do like 40 people screaming at me. Amp it up full.
No, I can't. This is as far as it goes.
No, just can we move on? We've been
Reverb your
recording for, like-
reverb. And then reverb
we're not
that reverb.
Dude, it's been 25 minutes. We're not even in the top 10. Come on.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
God.
Plats, let's go.
Alright. So, Hesitation Marks is something... It's an album. Yeah. Like, I definitely like the direction they're going for. Like, they're going back to the electro-industrial kind of dancey roots of Pretty Hate Machine. And it can definitely lead to a bunch of diverse and unique moments for Nine Inch Nails. And I definitely like some of the songs here. Well, some of the songs. But the problem is pretty much everything else. Like, it just feels bog standard Nine Inch Nails material. Like, the lyrics are overly melodramatic, even for a Nine Inch Nails song. Trent Reznor's performance is kind of middle of the road. There's a lot of forgettable tracks here, and it just lacks. It just lacks the it just lacks the certain magic that makes a Nine Inch Nails so damn good and so damn addicting. And it just leaves it out for a huge quantity of just unmemorable tracks.
Fair.
Right there with you.
Yeah. Still, for me, it's nice, but it's not, like, mind-blowing. It's a nice collection of deconstructed and more melancholic versions of previous songs, just showing how, like, versatile Trent can be as a songwriter and as a, like, composer. And there are a couple of more, original, low-key instrumental tracks, as well as a couple B-sides, but at the end of the day, it is just a collection of tracks that, while it is pretty cohesive for a compilation, is just a collection of leftovers and ambient, like, acoustic versions of songs I've already heard. That being said, it does have the best version of Something I Could Never Have, and also has one of their best songs, which I will get to in my favorite track.
Yeah.
Okay. My favorite tracks from Ghost 5 are Your Touch, Still Right Here and Together. My least favorite track is With Faith.
My favorites on The Fragile were We're In This Together, Somewhat Damaged, The Fragile, Complication. My least favorites were The Way Out Is Through and Underneath It All.
Oh, you put fucking complication on that. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's good. We're good.
Good track.
It's a good track.
My favorite tracks from Hesitation Marks are Came Back Haunted, Copy of It, and various methods of escape. My least favorite tracks are Running and Disappointed.
My favorite tracks from Still, and All That Could Have Been, Something I Could Never Have, and The Becoming, and my least favorite is Adrift and At Peace.
Alright. Moving on to our number 11 picks, I chose With Teeth.
I chose Ghosts. I said 7. Ghost 6.
Unreleased.
I chose
I got the demo.
I chose the Ad Violence EP.
I also chose the Ad Violence EP.
Ooh. Our first,
Alright. Our first
Is
bit
that
of
our first
positivity. Let's go. Yeah. Alright, so With Teeth. I can appreciate that this was made at an important time in Trent Reznor's life, as, you know, he was getting over a crippling addiction, and he recuperated. He wrote his lyrics that are a lot less demented and make something that's more accessible. And honestly, I think it's good for the most part, but I wouldn't rank it amongst their best. I think the production for the most part is good. It feels a bit more stripped back, but for the most part it works. Like, there's tracks though that I don't care for, but that doesn't take away from the fact that there's a lot of brilliant tracks that I genuinely love. And the performances are still as impactful as, say, you'd want them to be on a Nine Inch Nails record. And I believe they're solid. And yeah, I enjoy this for what it is, but I wouldn't rank it among their best.
Yeah, same with me and Ghost 6. I'm a fan of ambient, but I also seldom get really blown away by an ambient album. And this is definitely one of those times. I think that the texture and just the atmospheres that are explored here are very dark, very brooding, and very interesting for the most part. But it's a bit long, and I don't think that there's anything here that I would really recommend to anyone who isn't a hardcore fan of Trent Reznor's work. It's decent ambient. It's nothing better. It's nothing worse. It's not that interesting to talk about or discuss, really. It's nice. It's whatever. Okay.
So the Ad Violence EP is it's pretty good. You know, I definitely like the direction they went here. I definitely like a few of tracks, and it has some pretty cool experiments that are pretty unique. But it's also not all that memorable. Like I still really like it. It's just like there's not much that I'd want to come back to compared to like all of the other EPs that I've listened to from them.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. Technically, this is the first official, like, proper release that I've put on my list. I just think that the EP, like, while I still really like it, because I'm a massive Nine Inch Nails stan and I won't apologize for it, but I still really like it. It has some really great songs on it. I think it's really, when it wants to be, it's really punchy, really fun, and almost kind of poppy for them, which is interesting to call a Nine Inch Nails release poppy, but it kind of has those, like, big hooks. It has those giant, like, production leaps that would expect from a more traditional, like, rock act, but it to me it just feels a little muddled and not really having its own identity. Even though it has some of the band's best songs, in my opinion, it still isn't as good as some of the more interesting stuff that they've released.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My favourite tracks from With Teeth are You Know What You Are, Love Is Not Enough, Getting Smaller, and Right Where It Belongs. My least favourite track is All the Love in the World.
My favourites on Ghost 6 was The Cursed Clock, Around Every Corner, and Run Like Hell. My least favourite was When It Happens, Don't Mind Me.
My favorites from Ad Violence are Less Than and This Isn't the Place, and my least favorites are The Background World and The Lovers.
My favorite tracks from Ad Violence are Not Anymore, The Lovers, This Isn't the Place, and my least favorite is the second half of The Background World, because the first half's really good, and the second half fucks everything up.
Yeah, it's supposed to like represent his age, like the amount of loops, the imperfect loops. Like it's supposed to
Yeah, but it
represent
doesn't
his age
sound
at the
good.
time. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's all that matters.
It's just
Is it-
it's
is
just
it-
the fact that I know of.
I feel like the meaning is less important than the enjoyability.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
Yeah,
a lot of
that
well, it
meaning
represents your
behind
age,
Angelic to
but
the
doesn't
Core, but
slap.
Yeah, it doesn't slap.
There's a lot of great meaning behind Angelic to the Core. It's
Yeah,
just a
but, like-
fucking awful album.
Yeah.
yeah, the slap
It-
meter's quite low.
All right,
It slaps less with age.
all right. We're 35 minutes in, and we're finally in the top 10.
Yeah.
My number 10 pick is Ghost 6, Lacoste. Lacoste. Sorry.
Mine, locusts.
Locust.
My
I
number-
can't pronounce shit. Leave me alone.
Lacoste.
Wait, 10, right?
Mhm.
My
Yeah,
number
10.
10 pick is Ghosts 1 to 4.
My number 10 pick is The Slip.
My number 10 pick is Bad Witch.
Ah, okay.
Ah!
Okay. All right. Ghost 6 is the second instrumental album released in 2020, and honestly, I like it a lot. I think it is genuinely great. It's my favorite of the Ghost series, and in terms of what it is a darker, more brooding version of Ghosts 5. And it's my favorite of the Ghosts because of that. I love the eerie, dark, tension-building soundscapes of this project. I love the production quite a bit. Despite its length, it goes by relatively fast for me, and I genuinely think it's kind of underrated in a sense, like that it's not really that praised or whatever, but I like it quite a lot. Like similar to Ghost 5, I was listening to Minecraft in this, but I was in the net while I was playing with
You
Lacoste.
sang that out well.
And it was timed pretty well, and honestly, it's pretty good. I like it a lot. It's genuinely like up there for me. Like obviously it's not up there in Nine Inch Nails because it's only like 10th in their discography, but I like it a lot. That's all you need to know.
Ghosts 1 to 4 I actually quite enjoyed. It's just almost 2 hours of very atmospheric, pleasant, well-textured and arranged ambient-y post-industrial music. And surprisingly for its long length, it never really overstayed its welcome for me. I was engaged, I was, entranced the whole time. It never felt underwhelming or overwhelming to me. It was just decent, mostly ambient music that, I can't really say much bad things about, but I also can't really say this was anything groundbreaking. I think some of the tracks on here weren't as interesting as others, and it does kind of fall into that category of just ambient music, while very enjoyable. You can't really praise all too much, because while it does set a good atmosphere, it does showcase some nice textures and stuff. It's just not the most interesting thing to dissect or further analyze. It's just an enjoyable album to relax and listen to, I think.
So
Relax in a Nine Inch Nails kind of way.
Anyway.
Minecraft Volume Delta.
Hell yeah. I want that. Speaking
so
of which, shout out to Luke on Demand for making a great video on Minecraft Volume Beta.
Yeah, shout out to
Is he paying
the
us?
boy.
No.
shout out.
No,
Oh,
Luke's just a
fuck that.
homie. No, Luke's just
shout
a
out.
This video
homie.
is sponsored by
Lucas O'Mahony.
Yeah.
This video was sponsored
No,
by
Luke
Luke
Oh
is
on
shit,
so
we
Demand.
forgot. Yeah, we forgot to do
Raid
the
Shadow
sponsor read.
Legends.
Oh, shit.
Alright,
Get your
sorry,
shitty-
sorry about that, Platzi. Continue. Just had to do
So so yeah, The Slip. I kind of have to agree that it is definitely their most alternative album they've ever made, by far. But that doesn't mean it's not great. Like, accessibility is quite different from being corporate, and in my eyes, and it's still very beautifully textured and well produced, and also very fun and catchy album for the most part. The problem is the last three tracks kind of lose their luster. Like they don't have the same exact memorability as the first like 6 tracks or 7 tracks on the album, which is a shame because like those tracks are quite great, even some of the best in their discography. But yeah, it's still quite good. Not something I bit to a lot, but
And that's fair.
yeah, that's fair.
Whoa.
Bad Witch for me, I like it a lot. It's just that like it comes from the like EP trilogy that came out a couple of years ago, which was Not the Actual Events, Add Violence, and then Bad Witch. But instead of releasing this as an EP, they released this as an LP, most likely so they could climb up and be the top of the Spotify charts. But that being said, judging it on an LP, I think it's way too short. It doesn't have the same ambition that some of their other albums do. It's one of the most atmospheric, for sure. It definitely is one of the weirder albums that they've put out. But I think that experimentation and the more experimental and weird side of this album, it kind of just feels a little undercooked. And I feel like they could have really like delivered if they just like focused their attention more on making a great LP instead of transferring an EP into a album. But yeah, I just wish that it was a little bit more fleshed out, a little bit more expanded upon, and I wish it had a little bit more stronger tracks on it. But yeah, it's still really great when I listen to it. So yeah,
Fair.
Yep.
My favorites from Ghosts. How do you pronounce it? I don't want to be an idiot.
Locusts.
Locusts. My favorites from Ghost 6 Locusts are Almost Dawn, The Warman's Waltz, and When It Happens, Don't Mind Me. And I don't have any least favorite tracks. I enjoyed it the full way through.
My favorites on Ghosts 1 to 4 were the funny Lil Nas X track. I didn't have any least favorites. That was the only track I actually listened to.
Alright.
that's all you need.
No, I didn't write favorites and least favorites for this.
Okay.
God fucking damn it.
God damn it, nostalgia.
My favorites from the slip are 1 Million, Letting You in Discipline, while my least favorites are Corona Radiata and 999,999.
Hell yeah, fuck Corona.
Yeah, fuck Corona.
Fuck Corona.
Yeah, fuck Corona.
We here at
my
the Tape
favorite-
podcast hate Corona.
Wow,
don't
Fuck
endorse
Corona.
it.
All my homies hate
Yeah,
Corona.
we do not endorse Corona.
We do
damn,
not
what
endorse
a
Corona
harsh
at all.
political stance.
Yeah, fuck Corona.
Hell yeah. I'd support it.
I support it. My favorite tracks from Bad Witch are Ahead of Ourselves, Shit Mirror, and God Break Down the Door, and my least favorite is I'm Not From This World.
Alright. Moving on to our number 9 picks, I chose Still.
I chose Ghosts 5.
I also chose Still.
I chose Pretty Hate Machine.
Okay, no. No.
Nah.
I knew,
No.
You know what?
I knew that you would have this reaction. I knew it.
I am also upset, but I am gonna keep my composure.
This is actually perfect timing because I have a message to deliver specifically for Pipe from CL Jesse. It says, fuck you, you're a fucking bitch. There we go.
What?
Yeah,
I fucking knew she'd do some shit like that. God damn it.
this is so toxic.
Shout out to
take it.
Charlize the homie.
Shelly's the homie.
Charlize the homie.
Alright, I chose
Oh,
Still.
homie.
Homie. Alright, I chose Still. You know, this album is essentially extremely stripped back. I'd say it's the most stripped back 9 Inch Nails project. The instrumentals, you know, are basically piano based, and honestly, I enjoy it a fair bit. There's songs on here that were on previous Nine Inch Nails albums and some that were demos. And they're reworked in a way with different instrumentation, and for the most part, they really work. I enjoy how raw the album is in its presentation. I feel like it works well with Trent's performances. It's not just always bare piano stuff. It incorporates a lot of ambient passages and the odd bit of guitar work here and there, but it's honestly enjoyable. Okay. It's like I went for a walk and it was a bit cathartic in a way for me. And honestly, yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit because of that. And that is why it still is there.
Well, for Ghost 5, you could pretty much copy and paste what I said about the previous two. I will add that the feeling of just calmness and serenity that I get from listening to this, knowing it's a Nine Inch Nails album, is quite a bit of a mindfuck. That's all I'll say. It's another very enjoyable ambient record, and it's a really bright and serene and colourful album for Nine Inch Nails standards. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
So still, I haven't listened to until I was informed this was going to be on the podcast, honestly. But I found this pretty interesting. Like, I like how some of the already present Nine Inch Nails tracks are performed in a very stripped back way, especially the Becoming. I don't expect that to become a piano piece, which was honestly kind of weird to me. And there's even stuff I prefer from the original versions, like Something I Can Never Have, which I honestly think just like strips away the datedness of the original Pretty Hate Machine version and just replaces it for more emotion and better vocal performance and just the overall rawness of it. Sometimes the rawness can get the best of it in some ways, and the mastering could have used some work, but overall this was a pretty interesting kind of listen as someone who is a huge fan of this guy's work.
Yeah. Alright, let's see if I can defend myself. Alright, so, Pretty Hate Machine. I still like it. I would be a terrible Nine Inch Nails stan if I didn't like this album. It's a great album. It's very important to the industrial genre. It is an important album for the 90s and the 80s. It's just a great album. However, in comparison to other Nine Inch Nails releases, I think that it is a little overhyped. Like, the production is a lot more dated than on, like, later albums. It doesn't have that timeless quality. It feels very much like a starting point instead of, oh, this is an amazing work of art that Trent has produced meticulously. It just feels a little bit more like the synths aren't very interesting to me. They're very dated. All the soundscapes that I used to think like, oh, this sounds really cool, now just sounds a little kind of boring. And I do agree that like the songwriting of this album is spectacular, and it's clear that it showed a lot of potential for Trent as a songwriter. But when comparing everything else in their discography, I just think that it is not as essential as some of their better albums, but I still love it to bits. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to best and worst tracks. My favourites from Still are Something I Can Never Have, The Becoming, Gone Still, The Day the World Went Away, and All That Could Have Been. My least favourite track is Adrift and At Peace.
My favourite tracks on Ghosts 5 were Together, Out in the Open, Your Touch. My least favourite was Hope We Can Again.
My favorites from Still are All That Could Have Been, The Fragile, Something That I Can Never Have, and Leaving Hope. My least favorite tracks are Adrift and At Peace and The Persistence of Loss.
My favorite tracks from Pretty Hate Machine are Sanctified, Terrible Lie, and Head Like a Hole, and my least favorite, and also my least favorite Nine Inch Nails song is Down in It, because Rap Trent.
Alright.
Trent Raptor.
Rawr!
Rawr! No, Trent!
Okay.
No, Trent! No!
Okay, moving on to our number 8 pick, I chose Add Violence.
I chose Not the Actual Events.
I chose Year Zero.
I chose Hesitation Marks. Fuck y'all.
It's crap, okay?
How dare you!
We'll get to that.
How
Anyway.
dare you put the...
Anyway, Add Violence. This EP is like the moodier side of Nine Inch Nails music done very well. I love a lot of the production on this project. The soundscapes are truly remarkable, and Atticus Ross leaves his mark on the record to me. The tracks definitely have different kind of moods to them, and they are truly a good vibe. I honestly love a lot of things going on here. It shakes up the formula a bit, and I love the textures that are going on here. And honestly, I love the last track for some reason. I don't know, I just liked how it just devolved into fucking white noise. It's just the best shit, honestly. And I enjoy it because of the whole, like, kind of shaking up of the formula. And yeah, I enjoy this. I can definitely see myself returning to it a fair bit.
Yeah, for Not the Actual Events, I think after Hesitation Marks, this is a very welcome change of pace for me, as this EP really kind of reignites the aggressive and unrelenting flame that made the early Nine Inch Nails project so enjoyable for me. I think it was a sign of things to come when you look at the next two releases, and this one is, in my opinion, the weakest of the three, but I still really enjoy it. It's the shortest Nine Inch Nails album, and a short album usually is either very risky or very rewarding, and I think this is one where it's quite rewarding. I think the punchy and very to the point feel of this album works well with the short length. I think it packs a lot of punch in its how long is this, 20 minutes?
Something like that.
Yeah, around 20.
Something like that, yeah. It packs a lot of punch in little time, and yeah, very enjoyable. But I do think they've better stuff.
So I chose Year Zero, and let me just get this out of the way. This album aged like fine fucking wine when it comes to this concept. It's...
Yeah.
It could not be more relevant. The political themes, it could not be more relevant today. And even back when George Bush kind of ruled, but yeah, I really enjoy this. I think this is really fun. That it's not the biggest step forward. It's not their most ambitious album in their catalog, but I love the glitchy, kind of distorted atmospheres. I love his very energetic vocal performances, and in most of all, I really love just how well produced this is. And yeah,
And that's fair.
Fair.
Alright, so I have a message, because someone from your previous podcast came on the podcast. My significant other came on, and they said some words about Hesitation Marks. So just a message for Charlize. Fuck you, let me enjoy things. So Hesitation Marks is, honestly, I fucking love this thing. I get it's not one of the best albums of all time, and it's not gonna go in it's not gonna be in my top 3, clearly, because I'm ranking them. Good job, Brian. You're great explaining things. But I think that it's it's such a different album for them to release, especially around the time that they released it, because at the time they were known for these big, bombastic, industrial, heavy, grinding songs, and these, like, thick, atmospheric, destructive tracks. But here, they, instead of going for bigger, bolder, and more fuck you, punch you in the face, shit on your mom, they instead go for a more minimalist and more methodical and almost kind of clubby side to them. It's very much more in the lines of the electronic stuff that they were doing, maybe on Pretty Hate Machine, but a little bit more toned down and a lot more tightly focused on, like, just giving that pure club energy, in my opinion. It has a lot of great songs on it. It has some really experimental stuff that, for a band of their stature, it kind of shocks me that they would even release a track like Running. But still, I think that it's fun, it's sticky, it's entertaining, and it has some of the most euphoric tracks to date.
Shitted.
Shitted, cummed.
Shitted. Shitted, cummed.
Oh, dear,
Okay, Okay. Right, my favorites from Add Violence are not anymore The Background World, and I don't have any of these favorites.
My favorites on Not the Actual Events were Branches Bones and She's Gone Away. My least favorite was Burning Bright.
My favorites from Year Zero were Me I'm Not, God-Given, Vessel in My Violent Heart, and my least favorite tracks are The Greater Good and Another Version of the Truth.
My favorite tracks on Hesitation Marks are Various Methods of Escape, I Would For You, Into, and my least favorite is The Eater of Dreams.
Okay. Moving on to our number 7 picks. I chose Not the Actual Events.
I chose Broken.
I chose...
That caught me off guard. Jesus
Oh my
Christ.
gosh.
It's fine, no, it's fine, everything's fine, we're all good, dude. We're just a bunch of friends hanging out, chilling out, relaxing, all cool, it's fine.
I chose Bad Witch.
I chose The Slip.
Pipe do be panicking, though.
I do
Hell
be
yeah.
panicking.
It's
Nostalgia.
in his name.
I'm just here doing what I've been told to do.
Okay, Not the Actual Events. This EP is truly remarkable in that it shows that even after 25 years, Trent Reznor still has it in him to keep creating incredible bodies of work. It starts off a little weak in my opinion, but after that it's just smooth sailing, as the last 3 tracks honestly are just incredible. Like, the textures and the production are just great to me. Like, it really shows the industrial rock sound still has class and it can still kick ass. It definitely sounds a lot less predictable in its formula, as that's what we've essentially been getting prior. It's more experimental in that sense, and I love this EP for that reason. There's definitely so much that I could take away from this in the short amount of time that it presents itself in, and honestly, it's fucking great. Honestly, it's just shut up. It's great, okay?
Okay.
First of all, Pipe, I really like this album. I think it's great. I'll start off with that.
Sure.
It starts off very strong. Every track is just unrelenting, unforgiving, apocalyptic, industrial madness. But to me, it just falls off so heavy on the last 2 tracks that it does bring the ranking down a bit. I still think it's a great EP. I think it's essential. It kind of sees a turn away from the synth heavy sound of their debut into a more industrial, kind of darker approach. And, you know, I really respect this album. I respect the direction. I love a lot of tracks on here, but the last 2 tracks, man, hate them both.
Bruh.
That's you know what? That's fine. You're about your own opinion.
Mick do be panicking, though.
Come on.
It's okay.
Come on.
It's okay.
Get on
it's
with the
okay,
show.
man.
Get on
Hey,
with
it
the
could
show.
be worse. You could be putting the Fragile like bottom 5. Yeah.
Only
yeah.
a heathen would do that. Only a fucking degenerate would do that.
I've gotten over the
really
hump. They should really be down here from here.
All right, Platts.
So, Bad Witch was my was the first Nine Inch Nails record I've ever listened to.
Same, actually.
Yeah. it was new at the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, this I could barely count this as an album because it's like part of a trilogy of EPs, but I still think this is probably the healthiest revision of the Nine Inch Nails formula I've seen, thus forth. And I love I can tell this album was very heavily inspired by Blackstar, just from the amount, from the amount of Bowie inflections, and even from like Trent used to like play the saxophone in like some sort of school, and he really put that to the test here by just like adding layers upon layers of saxophone on top of these industrial rock beats, and that I really enjoy. I think it's really quite. I know I keep saying this, but I think it's quite unique in their discography in that way. And yeah, it's definitely their most experimental they've been in a while.
Of course.
So the Slip, to me, the Slip and Year Zero kind of go in tandem for a weird reason. Mostly because, like, during this time, Trent Reznor kind of wanted to make a more, like, gritty and, like, kind of, like, an industrial band that would sound like they're coming from a garage. And that's definitely what I feel like the Slip captures at its best. It's down, it's dirty, it's in your face, it's super accessible, super punchy, and just fucking going for it constantly, and I really love it. But the last half, like Platt said, it does kind of meander. It has these two ambient tracks that just kill the momentum of the album for me, and I just wish that they had focused more on just delivering 10 tracks of just pure, unbridled, uncut cock. And I just felt that I still love it to pieces. It's just that those last bits kind of make it less interesting to me. But I still adore what this album does in its first half. It is some of the best material they have ever written, period. So, yeah.
Oh, he said cock, peak funny.
Funny.
Alright, my favourite tracks from Not the Actual Events are She's Gone Away, The Idea of You, and Burning Bright. My least favourite track was Branches and Bones.
My favourites on Broken were Wish, Happiness and Slavery, and Give Up. My least favourites were Physical and Suck.
Suck.
Suck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Platts.
No problem.
Production's through the roof.
My
audio engineer here.
Hell yeah. My favorite from Bad, which are Head of Ourselves, God Break Down the Door, and Shit Mirror. While my least favorite track is I'm Not From This World.
My favorite tracks from the Slip are Head Down, Letting You, A Million, and I think Demon Seed. Sorry, I didn't write Demon Seed, so I was remembering if it was Seed or Suck. And least favorite is Corona Radicata, or whatever it's called, because fuck Corona.
Hell yeah.
Fuck Corona.
Fuck Corona.
Fuck Corona.
Hell yeah.
Fuck Corona.
If you could piss off nicely, Corona, thanks.
Hell yeah.
Alright. Number 6, I chose Year Zero.
For number 6, I chose With Teeth.
I chose the Not the Actual Events EP.
And I also chose Year Zero.
Hell yeah.
So many matches.
Alright. Year Zero. An album that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. But in all honesty, it's an album that I think is aged incredibly well sonically as well as thematically, and I feel like it's Nine Inch Nails' most underrated album as a result. Like, this album, yeah, obviously it's definitely more political in terms of its lyrical things, and given what's been going on in the world, especially in the US, Like, it's just aged like wine. It's written so damn well, and I love Trent's performances on this. The production, while not being the most adventurous or groundbreaking in Nine Inch Nails' discography, it's still incredible sounding to me. Trent still does so well in creating these electronic, industrial, and at times atmospheric soundscapes that create tension, and there's plenty of these instances of this that occur on this album. It's like Pretty Hate Machine if it was less dated. And the first 3 tracks for me were a bit iffy, but after that it was just smooth sailing because I just loved everything else. I just loved the energy that Trent was presenting with this whole thing. I love the themes. It's pretty much anything I could ask for in a great album. And of course, Year Zero delivers on all of those fronts and is Nine Inch Nails' most underrated album because of that.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
Sweet. Okay. What was I talking about? With teeth, right? I was about to fucking talk about broken again. With teeth.
My teeth are broken.
Yeah. I think this album's brilliant. Trent was getting older. I think his voice and delivery no longer had the power that it once had, but the oomph has not been lost. It's still as unrelenting. It's still as just gut punching as it always has been, and just the whole overall sound, while yes a bit more radio friendly, I think that doesn't take anything away from the music, which is still very aggressive. Trent's vocals give off a sense of paranoia and anger throughout. His delivery and intonation, even on the album's quietest moments, are just so uneasy and kind of dystopian that it just sets the atmosphere for the whole album. The very alt-rock approach here, I think, just works really well with just the overall direction he's going when it comes to the instrumentals, the production, thematically. It's a great album. It's, I think it's one of his best. And I when I went on Rate Your Music reviews, I seen a lot of really stupid reviews calling him a sellout, and I think that's probably the dumbest thing I've ever read in my life. So I just wanted to say that's the dumbest thing I've ever read in my life.
It's a
random Rate Your Music review from 2005. Fuck you.
Honestly, It's about as annoying as people saying that fucking good news for people who love bad news is a sellout album.
Exactly.
Bro, come on. I want to see his fucking record corrections. Just fucking demo discs from fucking bands who have 2 fucking listeners on Spotify. And he's like, oh, this is the real shit. Y'all listening to fucking Burzum fucking pop music.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Great album.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Platts.
Indeed.
So, not the actual events. I think this is probably the rawest they've ever sounded since The Fragile. And, it's the first time, Atticus Ross becomes a full-time member of the band. And I think together they just made pretty much some of the best material since then. Well, no. Well, they made some of the best material in their discography. I think this is a lot darker. I think it's a lot of fun. I love how noisy it is and dissonant it is. It's just something I'd always kind of go back to. And I think it's definitely one of their finer achievements, and probably my favorite out of the 3 EPs they've released in the past 3 years. Well, the past years that they released them.
Yeah.
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 You.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woohoo! Mario. Wario, this is my greatest achievement. Wario.
If someone just clicks on, Nine Inch Nails worst to best, interesting, I'll see what this is like, and then they skip directly to 1 hour and 10 minutes.
This is my favorite game. Wow. Year Zero is my favorite Nine Inch Nails album. What is that fucking accent? What am I doing?
Dude,
am I brain dead? Am I? Do you want me to say my thoughts?
No, but dude,
As
my dad just
Mario?
came and told me to keep it down.
It is almost midnight for us.
Trent Reznor so loud.
We should probably
Yeah, we
finish.
should probably
move on.
we should move on.
Yeah.
We're over an hour in, and we're not even like into the top 5.
I love meandering. So, Year Zero, everyone fucking talks about the political elements because it's one of the biggest themes in the entire album. It's blatantly one of the most in-your-face elements of the entire album. But I think what a lot of people don't talk about is like just how cohesive this entire album is. Like, it just feels like one giant holistic piece instead of just a bunch of songs like from The Slip. It feels like its own big giant piece, and that's what I love about it. Like, even with the more like instrumental elements to it, like songs like The Greater Good, I still think that it's really a captivating listen. It has some really punchy songs, really punchy production, amazing songwriting, some of the best lyrics ever in my opinion. It's great. I fucking love this. And if you're in the US right now and you are of age, please vote. Please vote.
Yes.
Or just leave the fucking.
Please vote for
Move to
anyone
Ireland.
else.
Move to Ireland, best country. Move to Ireland, best
Yeah.
country.
No, move
Yeah.
to New Zealand, best country.
To be fair, yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Anyways, my favorite tracks from Year Zero are The Greater Good, The Great Destroyer, My Violent Heart, The Good Soldier, and Meet Your Master. My least favorite tracks are Hyperpower, The Beginning of the End, and Survivalism.
My favorite tracks
Ooh.
on With Teeth were All the Love in the World, You Know What You Are, Beside You in Time, Love Is Not Enough, Right Where It Belongs. My least favorite track was Getting Smaller.
Oh.
my favorite tracks from not the actual events are The Idea of You, Burning Bright, Field on Fire, and Branches and Bones, while my least favorite track is Dear World.
My favorite tracks on Year Zero are Vessel, The Great Destroyer, Me Am Not, Survivalism, and my least favorite is Another Version of The Truth.
And we've finally made it to the top 5.
Top 5.
Yes.
Where will be
Hour
for
and
the
10
next 2
minutes.
hours.
Finally.
My number 5 pick is Bad Witch.
My number 5 pick is Add Violence.
My number 5 pick is With Teeth.
My number 5 pick is Not the Actual Events.
I like the diversity. So yeah, Bad Witch is the latest quote-unquote actual album from Nine Inch Nails, and obviously it feels more like an EP if anything, but I don't care about that because honestly it's incredible to me anyway. I rate this a 9 out of 10 for fuck's sake. I think that Trent and Atticus create an album of really dense like tracks full of amazing production that is just so Nine Inch Nails, but it's so experimental in its approach. The first track definitely shows that the industrial rock sounds are just as great as ever, and the inclusion of jazz elements are just a really cool like left turn, and it's definitely inspired by Black Star, and I love it. In fact, I feel like this whole album is inspired by Black Star, especially with obviously the jazz elements and a lot of the inflections that Trent uses on this album. They're just reeking of Bowie, and honestly I feel like it's a nice kind of ode to Bowie in a way. And I love the soundscapes on here. They build so much tension with the raw and rough like aesthetic, and I love it. They sound kind of therapeutic in a sense too, and honestly I could just say there's like no weak tracks on this at all. It's just all killer in my opinion, no filler. It's just incredible to me. And yeah, Bad Witch is fucking great.
Why did I think that like Nine Inch Nails are gonna cover Sum 41 now?
That's exactly what I thought of as well when you said that. Yeah, Add Violence. I think this is a brilliant EP. I'll keep it quite short because we're really taking our time here. But this EP kicks ass. Sonically, it's just so unrelenting almost psychotic and insane. It just feels like Trent Reznor's kicking you in the balls for 27 minutes, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I think when it comes to the EPs, quote-unquote EPs, this is definitely my favorite of the bunch. It's not my favorite of the 3 more recent, albums, EPs, but I still think it's a brilliant album with no weak tracks, really, and it's just ferocious. It's packs so much, just like Not the Actual Events, it packs so much ferocity and anger and so much textures into so little time that it's really enjoyable.
So, with Teeth, after a very well-deserved 6 years after their last proper studio album, I think he's, with a lot of self-improvement from addiction and also just working out. he's like Buff Reznor now.
Man's
He
beefed
could
up.
definitely kick me in the balls
Yes,
for
definitely.
27 minutes. He could go on for 27 days.
Absolutely.
He looks like he could literally he could leave me without teeth.
You
Exactly.
could just look at me, I'd pass out.
And this is definitely a much more accessible and traditional kind of album than it tied almost closely to the Slip, but it never feels like it panders to the audience in some sort of way. And I think there's not much filler besides maybe just a couple of tracks, but even those I find are pretty quality. The hooks are great. There are a lot of great industrial rock bangers on here. I just love the atmosphere. I love his vocal performance, and overall, I just find this would be an extremely fun kind of listen.
Not the Actual Events for me. It's just a fucking death stomp, dick ride, fucking kill your mum, stab your nan kind of thing. It's so
Hell yeah.
much fun.
Stab your wife,
And,
stab
like,
your kids.
Exactly. It will make you stab your wife and potentially your children if you're not careful. It's like one of the most nihilistic, aggressive, and in-your-face releases the band has made in such a long time, and it's so nice to see. Like, it's probably the closest we're gonna get to another Broken or something akin to another Downward Spiral in pure aggression, but it's nihilistic. It's fun, it's experimental, but without trying to, force, atmosphere down your throat. It's weird, it's quirky, it's fun, it's, compact, it's concise, and I just love this thing to bits. Also, I have this little thing, where when a track hits a certain point in my brain where I start ascending, I call it peak music. And the track Burning Bright, Field on Fire, it hits peak music so nicely. So nicely.
I
course.
agree.
Of course.
Of course.
Alright, my favourite tracks from Bad Witch. I love them all, but I have to pick favourites, so God, Break Down the Door, Shit Mirror, and Over and Out. And I have no least favourite tracks.
My favourites on Ad Violence were Ad Violence, The Background World, and Not Anymore, and I don't really have a least favourite track, but if I had to choose, I'd go for This Isn't the Place.
My favorites from With Teeth are Do You Fucking Know What You Are? It beside you in time, getting smaller every day is exactly the same and right where it belongs. My least favorite track is With Teeth. No, actually, it's not.
Oh.
It's The Line Begins to Blur.
Oh.
I forgot to put that in earlier.
I don't really have a lot of favorite or least favorite songs from this EP, but if I had to choose, my favorite songs are Burning Bright, Field on Fire, The Idea of You, and Branches.
Guys, the
Guys?
recording.
It's gone.
The recording.
I use Audacity anyway.
It's fine, we
I
have
use
Audacity.
Audacity.
It's fine, we have Audacity.
All right. Go ahead.
Oh, sweet baby, fuck.
Go ahead.
Jesus.
Go ahead. Go again.
Okay, my favorite jams, Burning Bright, Field on Fire, The Idea of You, Branches/Bones, and my least favorite is Dear World.
Alright. Moving on to our number 4 picks, I chose Pretty Hate Machine.
I chose, I'm assuming this is supposed to say Bad Witch, because it currently says with bitch. So thank you, autocorrect.
With bitch.
With bitch.
With bitch. I expected nothing less.
Platts?
But
Wait, I thought we already. Oh yeah, our fourth. Sorry about that. My fourth is Pretty Hate Machine.
and my fourth is With Teeth.
Okay.
With bitch and with teeth.
I love how me and Platts have the same pick, and you and Pipe have the same pick. Alright.
Wholesome.
Pretty Hate Machine. A debut that certainly was very impressive to start the 9 Inch Nails discography for me. The production on here is, essentially industrial tinged electropop, which is a pretty weird thing to think about for the most part, but it works. Pretty much every song here is great in my opinion. I don't think there's a bad song at all. They showed that the band mean business, like especially with the sound of the production and Trent's work as a lead vocalist. And what I love about the production is the more industrial elements. Obviously, they add so much more to the synth work and make it sound so intense and hard as hell. Like, it does sound a bit dated, however, in terms of its synth, and a bit of the mixes and the fucking gated reverb that's just 80s to the fucking tits. But honestly, Trent is great on here. His shouting is great. His lyrics are apocalyptic and just out there, and they work well, honestly. The choruses are memorable as hell. I think this is just overall an album I definitely see myself revisiting, and it's definitely high tier in 9 Inch Nails discography, for me at least.
Alright, With Bitch.
Sorry. I'm on a different fucking planet currently. This is definitely a standout for me in their whole discography. It's a breath of fresh air considering the last official LP was Hesitation Marks, which was my least favorite album in their discography. This seems like a complete 180. It's just so, where Hesitation Marks was very bloated and monotonous to me, this is so just punchy and short and sweet and so concise and so just blunt with its delivery, with its just overall aesthetic, that it blows me away when I listen to this. I listened to, this was also the first album I listened to when it came out, and my only really experience with 9 Inch Nails was maybe like a few songs, definitely Closer, but this just really blew me away. It feels like it transports me to some dark fucking realm. I don't know what's happening. I feel scared. I'm panicking anytime I listen to this, but I love it. It feels really indicative of a lot of different genres for sure, but it also, in a weird way, seems very like idiosyncratic and unique, especially in the discography. When it comes to the main albums, the only releases I think sound anything like it are the 2 EPs, and this is definitely my favorite of the 3 releases in between 2016 and 2018. It's such a fantastic album. I love the length. I love how concise it is. I love how punchy it is. I love how just crazy it is. It's a fantastic album.
So my pick was my pick was Pretty Hate Machine. Yeah, this is a very impressive first offering from just like one person with a couple of Moog synthesizers and drum machines and a guitar, and it sounds dated, but I think it adds to it. But I personally think it adds to it. It just how fun this and danceable this is as a industrial melding of rock. I think I said it wrong, but but I think it's very fun. Like, it definitely doesn't hold up to this. Like, the mixing and just production doesn't quite hold up to what would come before, but the tracks on here make up for it tenfold. Like, there's quite a few. There's a bunch of like amazing hooks and just like great memorability on each and every track, and yeah, I just love the shit out of it.
And that's understandable.
Yeah. So with T for me, I can see why people don't really see this as an essential Nine Inch Nails album in comparison with the other works, because it's a lot more accessible, a lot more poppy, very more straightforward, kind of almost arena rock at moments. But in a weird way, it reminds me a lot of The Cure's The Head on the Door for some reason, because that album, like, for The Cure, like, that album was their big pop, accessible, more linear and more straightforward release. And honestly, I can see this being in that kind of category. It's super punchy, super infectious. It's so much fun to listen to. Every time I listen to some of these tracks, I just can't stop spinning them over and over and over again. It's fun, it's catchy, it feels a lot more, dare I say, healthy for Trent to release this album, because I feel like if he made another album of him just saying, I suck, I hate my life, everything sucks, my wife left me and took the kids, I feel like he'd just crumble and die. So I'm glad that he got the help he needed. I'm glad that he saw it through to the other side and made this album, because I think that it is one of his best.
And that's fair. My favourite tracks from Hate Machine are Something I Can Never Have, Sanctified, and Terrible Lie. My least favourite track is Down in It.
Rap Trent.
Yes.
My favourite tracks on Bad Witch were Ahead of Ourselves, God Break Down Door, I'm Not From This World, and I don't really have a least favourite.
My favorite tracks from Pretty Hate Machine are Terrible Lie, Sanctified, Sin, Head Like a Hole, and Down It, which I have a soft spots for. Fuck you. And my least favorite track is That's What I Get.
My favorite tracks from With Teeth are Beside You in Time, You Know What You Are, Only, Love Is Not Enough, Getting Smaller, The Collector, and my least favorite is And With the Teeth!
Hell yeah. We're an hour and a half in and we finally made it to the top 3.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
This is already the longest.
This is the longest episode.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Alright.
I feel so bad.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. I just feel bad for Nostalgia. He has to edit this shit.
Oh.
It's grand.
Okay.
It's just the software I use for some reason doesn't render when it's over 2 hours, so.
Yeah, that's what you get when you put Fragile at fucking bottom. I'm still mad about that.
Same.
I'm
same
not
here.
the only one who,
Yeah, same.
I'm not the only one who would suffer if we had to upload like a podcast unfinished, because 2 hours is the limit. So come on, guys, we have half an hour.
Okay, my number 3 pick. Okay. Shut up. My number 3 pick is Broken.
My number 3 pick is Still.
Speaking of the Fragile, yeah, that's my number 3 pick.
And my number 3 pick is also Broken.
Borkin.
This EP is incredible. It's one of my favorite EPs of all time. It is relentless. It's brilliant. And most of all, it's just pure fucking anger and absolute rage. Like, it takes the industrial metal to the max, with deafeningly loud instrumentals, and just Trent just screaming his absolute lungs out. Like, they just aged so well to me as well. Like, I love a great chunk of trunk. Okay, I love a great chunk of the tracks on here, and there isn't a bad song in my opinion. The only thing I dislike about this EP is that the tracks after the first two actual songs take a bit of a dip in quality, and they don't strike me as memorable at all. Plus, I hate the mixing on Gave Up. Other than that, this do be an incredible EP though.
Right, I think Still is very underrated. It's the whole album is just so haunting. I think that a lot of the tracks that are redone here are either better or just take on a completely new identity. I think the more stripped back approach to, Trent Reznor's sound makes for an album that's just as dark, just as unrelenting, but in a more brooding and subtle kind of way. But it just hits just as hard, if not even harder at times, and it feels like the most poignant release that he's ever done. It's a fantastic addition to his discography. I really think this deserves a little more credit for just how dark and just unsettling it is with such a minimal approach. And yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, so mine was The Fragile. Despite being almost 2 hours in length, and as a double album, I think it uses its time very well to deliver a increasingly maddening and just unnerving atmosphere, and also even more Trent Reznor bangers. I love how even more of a descent into madness it is. Like the Downward Spiral, it kind of focuses more on him more than an actual character, and I think it works well in creating even more personal kind of lyrical themes. And I love the hooks as well, and also some of their most raw production in their discography. And yeah, I love coming back to this record despite its length.
Alright, so put yourself in the shoes of me. I'm about 14, 13, I don't know nothing about rock music, right? I know literally jack squat. So I decide on one day, I'm like, you know what, I want to check out a band, so I'm going to check out 9 Inch Nails. And so I find out, there's a short film for this EP called Broken. I'm going to watch that as my first thing. And then the first frame of that short film is someone hanging themselves. And then it cuts to a snuff film where they're ripping people apart. There's this one section where this giant metal claws grabbing some guy's dick and yanking it around while these heavy industrial I'm not joking, this genuinely happens in the short film. Look it up. It's an official release from 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah.
It's an official music video release where it's just a guy and a robot getting his dick fucking yanked by a metal claw, and he's like, oh yes, this is so good. And that was my first introduction to 9 Inch Nails. I was terrified, but also I loved it. This EP is so frantic, it's so aggressive, it's so in your face. It's one of the most extreme EPs I've ever heard in my entire life. It just keeps going and going and doesn't stop. It's like that one scene from Seven with when the guy's forced to fuck the prostitute with the knife. It's that, but as music. It's amazing. I love it to pieces. That was very aggressive.
Yeah.
Honestly, I kind of want to watch that short film.
Yeah, I want to watch it
Dude,
again.
it's fucking nuts.
I'm not weird. Don't bother me.
Sounds
I
fun.
Sounds kinky.
All right. All right. My favorite tracks from Broken are "Wish," "Last," and "Suck." The worst track is "Gave Up."
Bro, your favorite track sucks. What?
Suck.
How can you say that? How can you say that?
Suck.
My favorites on Still were Something I Can Never Have, the superior version, The Fragile, The Day the World Went Away, and Leaving Hope. My least favorite was Gone Still.
My favorites from The Fragile are The Big Come Down, The Wretched, Somewhat Damaged, Starfuckers Incorporated. Whereas Where is everybody? And we're in this together now. And my least favorite track is Complication.
My favorite songs are Gave Up, Wish, Suck, Happiness and Slavery, and my least favorite is Help Me, I Am in Hell.
Top 2.
Hell yeah.
My number 2 pick is The Fragile.
My number 2 pick is The Downward Spiral.
Sorry. No, it's okay. It's cool. No, it's fine. It's all good. It's fine. You know what? You do what you want to do, man. It's fine. It's fine. I actually like you. You're a cool dude. You're a cool dude. That's sick.
It means a lot.
What the fuck did you put your number 1?
We'll see.
We'll see.
My number 2 pick is the Broken EP.
And my number 2 pick is The Fragile. I'm very fragile right now.
How do you think I feel? How do you think I feel?
I fucking screamed so loud.
Number 2, like.
So good too.
Okay, never mind. Right. Before starting this album, I was incredibly intimidated by its length, as it sits at an hour and 43-minute runtime. But after listening to it open-minded and just nothing going on, this is incredible. I don't care what anyone says. This album is ambitious, and I feel like it's ambitious. Its ambition is what drives it forward, as it feels a lot like a descent into madness, like both in terms of its instrumentation and its lyrics. Like, the production on this album is absolutely fantastic. It feels more stripped back, but there's just so many moments that just keep me invested, whether that be because of how relentless they sound or how well crafted and experimental they are. Like, most of the tracks on here are incredible to me. I love Trent's vocals majority of the time. He matches like the insanity around him with plenty more of insanity in his performances. My only issue is that some tracks don't do much for me, and it's kind of slow in terms of like some of the tracks, and it is obviously bloated, but I think it's amazing anyway. I love it to bits, and I hate you for putting it at fucking bottom 5.
My mind's never gonna change.
I fucking hate you so much. God, fuck.
Explain how Downward Spiral's a 2.
I was saying it's a 2. I'm saying it's second. There's a bit of a difference.
There's a difference.
There is a difference.
Yeah, every album I've talked about so far has been a 1 out of 10.
Ugh. You know you're the homie. Homie, right? Nostalgia.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm not actually mad.
Yeah. So
I fucking know it. This is entertainment. This is Hollywood. The Downward Spiral is like a more refined version of Broken to me. It's just every single track, except one. There's one that I don't care that much for. But every track is just unrelenting. It's just so amazingly produced. It's so cathartic. There's just all the ideas explored here. Every single sound serves to the overall purpose and just the darkness of this album. It's the highs on this album are without a doubt the highest highs in the entire Nine Inch Nails discography. It's just, I think the album I'm going to rank above it just is more consistently at a very high level. I think, this album definitely deserves all the praise it gets. I can definitely see, why it's such amazing album. It's such an amazing album. I can definitely see why it's so highly lauded and praised. And it's the definitive industrial album, and it's probably always gonna be. And I can definitely see why most people say it's his masterpiece. But there's one album that just it kind of stole my heart.
My
That being said, 2 out of 10.
So Broken, the EP that gave Trent Reznor a Grammy for saying this fucking song, and yeah, definitely those 2 words together, fist and fuck, can perfectly describe the aggression in this song, in this EP. Like it just goes up to full on metal, and I fucking love this. It's angry. It's a fuck you to the label. It keeps the usual synthesizers, the usual like drum and synthesizer kind of formula, and just adds more jaggedness to the guitars. That's more raw. It's hellish. It's fucking fantastic. Yeah, I just love the fucking aggression, and just I always come back to a lot of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try and wrap up my thoughts about The Fragile as quickly as I humanly can, because talking about this at length will literally kill me. So, it's a masterpiece. It is one of my favorite albums of all time. It is genuine. I don't understand how you could find this thing boring. It's so energetic and fun and interesting, and let me speak my piece. And it's so ambitious. It's experimental. It has moments where you feel like you're overwhelmed with this amount of beauty and just pure emotion. At the same time, you have Starfuckers Incorporated and Somewhat Damaged, where you feel like you're getting beaten in the skull with a club or a hammer. It's so inventive, interesting, and it's definitely one of the more original and fun and I just fucking love this album to pieces. If I keep going on about it, I'm gonna be here for fucking 5 years. So I'm just gonna say it's amazing. If you haven't heard it already, go listen to it.
Hell yeah.
Alright. My favourite tracks from The Fragile are Somewhat Damaged, Just Like You Imagined, Pilgrimage, No You Don't, The Great Below, Into the Void, Starfuckers Incorporated, Underneath It All, and Ripe with Decay. My least favourite track is La Mer.
I'll change things up. I'll start with my least favourite because it's Piggy. It's the only track that I don't really care for. My favourite tracks are everything else with emphasis on Mr. Self-Destruct.
my
favorite. Imagine.
And my favorite tracks from Broken are Wish, Gave Up, and Last. My least favorite track is Help Me, I Am in Hell.
My favorite track is Somewhat Damaged, The Great Below, The Big Come Down, We're in This Together Now, The Day the Whole World Went Away, No You Don't, Into the Void, Please, Pilgrimage, and Ripe with Decay. And my least favorite is The Frail.
Number one. It's obvious at this point.
For almost 2 hours.
For all, we're near. We'll wrap this up. The Downward Spiral. It's the Downward Spiral.
I'm the contrarian. Mine is Pretty Hate Machine.
I mean, I honestly.
See?
Pipe, please. Please.
Sorry.
Don't die.
Sorry.
Don't die.
Sorry.
Honestly,
No.
I'll respect Pretty Hate Machine. Honestly, it's fucking.
I'll respect it. Mine is the Downward Spiral, and I wonder what Pipes is. So boy.
Social Networks soundtrack.
My one is Antichrist Superstar by Marilyn Manson. It's his most experimental, abrasive, and interesting album. I love Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson.
Where does penis go?
Up his ass.
Okay.
So let's get into the Downward Spiral dick riding train. Let's go.
Alright, a Nine Inch Nails masterpiece. This is definitely Trent at his most raw in terms of both his sound and his writing. The concept on this thing is so well written. It's obviously about the character that's just, going on a downward spiral of nihilism, drugs, and contemplating his own suicide. And honestly, it's just gripping the whole way through for me. Trent's performances sound tortured as hell. He's just an absolute animal about this entire album. The production is unsettling and pretty deafening. It takes influence obviously from rock, metal, and techno with industrial sounds obviously, and honestly, the whole thing just culminates into something that's just so cathartic and so just a fucking punch to the face with how raw it is, and I just love it for that thing. And I know it's always a thing, the downward spiral this, downward spiral that, because it is that. It is the Nine Inch Nails album. It is the Nine Inch Nails masterpiece. It is incredible. I love it to bits. Yeah.
As much as I love Downward Spiral, something about Pretty Hate Machine just completely clicked with me. It just kicks ass. It sounds like fucking Depeche Mode on heroin. The synth work is fucking insane. It puts me in another place. It's what did you say? Peak music. The synths just fucking blow me away. It feels like I'm just having a fucking existential crisis. But they also by themselves would sound quite happy and upbeat a lot of the time. But then the instrumentals, everything else, just adds to this bigger picture. And this album is just so fucking crazy that I've listened to this maybe like 3 times this week, and every single time I just kind of stop what I'm doing and I just stare at a wall and I'm just like, fuck, I should punch a fucking hole in this wall right now, dude. Fuck. It just riles me up. It brings me to another place entirely. The songwriting I think is brilliant. I think it's punchy. I think it's dark, and then the synths really make it for me. I'm a sucker for some good synth, and this is some of the best synth work I've ever heard on any album. You may say it sounds dated, but fuck no, this sounds amazing. And yeah, synths get me hard.
Same, bro. Same.
Synths get us all hard.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
Yes.
Synths get me so hard. Nostalgia 2020.
Yeah.
So the fucking Downward Spiral. Holy shit, this is one of my favorite albums of all time.
This episode has been a fucking downward spiral intensity.
Yes. It recorded in the same building where the Manson murders happened. Trent was on fucking drug addictions all over the place. Of course this album is like fucking unnerving. Like, this has to be one of the most frightening albums I've ever heard. It has one of the most fully realized and fucked up concepts to ever like grace an album. It's about a god-loathing and self-loathing, in fact, character who named Mr. Self-Destruct, who just goes through like a downward spiral of drugs and sex and fucking himself up until he eventually commits suicide in the end. And it progressively gets even more frightening and more dense and just more dissonance. It honestly just made me fucking cry in the end when I first heard the first few times, because holy shit, this is a fucking nightmare of an album. And I love it.
I can relate to that. I can actually relate.
It's so abrasive and it's so nihilistic, and it ages so damn perfectly. I just love it through and through. And it's the subject to a lot of controversy. I get that, but that's just the amount of risks it takes. The risks it takes, despite selling so many copies and having so much critical acclaim. It just is so mesmerizing to me. I love it.
I'll add one thing real quick, because the thought of Johnny Cash just sitting down and listening to the Downward Spiral just kind of makes me happy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Same here. Same.
Just him, just 85, just sitting in his recliner listening to Closer.
I like this song. Hurt quite a lot.
Brings me back to my youth.
Hurt myself.
All right. The Downward Spiral's okay. It's fine. It's passable.
All right. Thank you guys for watching.
No, not only is this Nine Inch Nails' best album, not only is it one of the best 90s industrial albums of all time, not only is it the best album to come out of the 90s, not only is it one of the best albums of all time, it is also my personal favorite album of all time. It's perfection. Every second of this thing is perfection. If I go on, I'm gonna go on for fucking years, but I'll tell a quick story. When I was a little boy, after watching The Broken, I was very broken, and I didn't know a lot about like depression or anxiety and things like that. I was a very sad boy, and then the Downward Spiral came into my life. I listened to it for the first time, and I was fucking terrified. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was crying. I didn't know what to do. My face was so sweaty. I was traumatized. I couldn't come back to this album for a good period of my life because I was truly terrified about this album. Then I re-listened to it, finally conjuring up the fears, and I just broke. And this album broke me, and it is a masterpiece of the highest authority. It is the best album of all time, in my opinion. Nothing gets close to what this album achieves. It is fucking beautiful mess of an album that's so chaotic, nightmarish, intense, but also beautiful and earnest, and it is so good. I love it to pieces. Yeah, it's fine. It's okay. It's decent.
6 out of 10.
Yeah, it's probably 4.
6 out of 10.
Nah, shit's like a 2.
No, more like a negative
shit's
2.
a 2. Yeah.
You guys follow that Best of Rate Your Music account on Twitter?
Oh yes.
Where it's some guys just raving about how, I can't remember what the album was, but it's the best thing ever made, and how it just changed music history, and it's changed his life, and it's just peak music, the best album he's ever heard, and then he gives it a fucking 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. Anyways,
Wow.
Strict with your ratings.
Anyways, let's just get to the best tracks before this shit gets to 2 hours.
Yeah.
My favorite tracks from the Downward Spiral are Mr. Self-Destruct, Heresy, March of Pigs, The Becoming, I Do Not Want This, A Warm Place, Eraser, Reptile, Closer, and of course Hurt. And I have no least favorite tracks. This is a masterpiece.
My favorite tracks are all of them. My favorite tracks are none of them.
Your favorite tracks are none of them?
No, my least favorite are none of them. I forgot a word there.
I love all of them, but if I had to pick, it would be The Becoming, Hurt, Reptile, and Closer, Heresy, Mr. Self-Destruct, A Warm Place, Ruiner, March of the Pigs. Well, I do not have a least favorite track on this. It's that fucking good.
Yeah, my favorite tracks from Antichrist Superstar, Irresponsible Hate Anthem, Mr. Superstar, Antichrist Superstar, The Reflecting God, and Minute of Decay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Shout out to Mickey T and his stouts.
You ain't no host. You ain't no host.
Yeah, you ain't no host.
You ain't almost.
Look,
All right.
let's just get the outro done with. Thank you guys so much for checking out our really long 9 Inch Nails worst to best. I want to thank Platts and Pipe for taking the time out of their day to come on to this. We really appreciate you coming on.
My pleasure. It was an absolute honor.
Yeah, it was an absolute honor for even mentioning this for being on the calendar for this. I love Nine Inch Nails with all my heart, despite having
looking forward
maybe
to future ventures.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to future stuff.
Of course, which I want to announce first. Next episode is going to be a recap episode, but the one afterward is going to be a Swan's worst to best.
With me! I'm gonna be on it!
With a real swan.
With an
An actual swan. We're gonna get him into the studio and he's gonna go, and I'm gonna say, no, the To Be Kind is the best album, you fucking idiot.
Of course, this has been me, Mickey T, and Nostalgia. Thank you for checking out today's episode of the Tape Podcast. Necessary links are in the description. See ya.
See ya.
Peace.
Goodbye, you fucks!